My favorite Thanksgiving prayer was written by the Reverend Max Coots, who was the minister at the Canton, New York UU Church for 35 years. It seems fitting on this Sunday after Thanksgiving to give thanks for our community and our church. For children who are our second planting, and though they grow like weeds, and the wind too soon carries them away, may they forgive us our errors in cultivation and celebrate their roots. Let us give thanks. For generous friends with hearts and smiles as bright as their blossoms. For feisty friends as tart as apples. For continuous friends who, like scallions and cucumbers, keep reminding us that we've had them. For crotchety friends as sour as rhubarb and as indestructible. For handsome friends who are as gorgeous as eggplants and as elegant as a row of corn. And the others, as plain as potatoes and so good for us. For funny friends who are odd as Brussels sprouts and as amusing as artichokes. And serious friends, as complex as cauliflower and as intricate as onions. For friends as unpretentious as cabbages, as subtle as summer squash, as persistent as parsley, as delightful as dill, as endless as zucchini, and who, like parsnips, can be counted on to see us through the winter. For friendships that are hard won, like nuts that are hard to crack. For the potential of every person who, like grapes, can become fine wine. For old friends, nodding like sunflowers in the evening time. And young friends, coming on as fast as radishes. For loving friends, who wind around us like tendrils and hold us despite our blights, wilts, and witherings. And finally, for those friends now gone, like gardens past that have been harvested, but who fed us in their times that we might have life hereafter. For all these, we give thanks. Amen. Please place your offering in the offering basket or give online by scanning the QR code on the back of your order of service. This is also a great time to place visitors' forms in the offering basket. For folks online, please click the link in the chat to give to First Universalist Church. Thank you for your generosity. This morning's offering will now be gratefully received.
Thank you all, and may I share a story? How many of you love pecans? Perhaps have eaten a pecan pie recently. How many of you have been fed by trees? Perhaps even today. I'd love to share a story about the seeds we have yet to sow and a tree that Nell planted. And if you are feeling young in body and in spirit, I'd love to invite you to come close because there are some details in this book that I would love for you to see. And there will be images on the screens as well of the visuals too. So without further ado, Nell Plants a Tree by Ann Winter and Danielle Liaris. Before a grip on a branch, and a fall to the ground, and a scrape, and a leap, and a reach for the top. Before anyone finds out how high they can climb, Nell picks up a seed. Before a hush, and a point at a nest filled with eggs, and a crack in the shell, and a peeking through. Before anyone watches, 3 chicks hatching free. Nell buries a sprout. Before last place, as always, then 4th place, then 2nd, arms driving, toes gripping, hands stretched to the trunk. Before anyone wins for the very first time. Nell waters the soil. Before a too cozy den and a too squeaky chair and a too scratchy field and a too muddy bank, before anyone finds the best place to get lost, Nell lets in the sun. Before sacks of pecans and a crack and a crunch and a roll and a press and a mix and a pour. Before a peek in the oven, a shoo from the kitchen, a blue baking timer that finally dings. Nell, before anyone takes the first bite of warm pie, she digs a hole. Before treasures to find like a long strip of bark and a shell and a stone and a leaf flecked with holes, a slender white root sprouts from a pecan. Before anyone asks what to do with this seed, Nell plants a tree. That grows and grows and grows. That might seem like it's the end, but I think you know as well as I, this is just the beginning.
So I have to ask a question, and I don't know if you noticed, who was Nell throughout the book? Did you notice? I know if our middle Lily was here, she would have noticed there was one person in a yellow dress through the whole story. Nell, the child, planting the seed, and then later, an older woman helping grandchildren to get a snack and to bake a pecan pie. So it kept going back and forth between Nell when they're older and Nell when she was younger. So she planted that tree that ended up being such a big tree in her yard. And I wanted to share one more story from theologian Howard Thurman, who was very influential in our faith. He talked about how one day he was walking along and he saw an old man planting a tree, a very, very old man. And he thought he was worried about him digging this hole to put this tree in. And it was a pecan tree. And here's the secret. Pecans don't grow on the tree until they're at least, is it 10? I gotta say until they're at least 10 years old. So it's only until they're 10 years old. And Howard Thurman asked this man, why are you planting this tree? There's no way that you will be around to see the pecans, that it grows. He says, well, that's a silly question. Of course I'm not planting it for me. I'm planting it for you and anyone who comes by and along. So I invite you today to think of those who maybe planted pecans for you, and who are you planting pecans for in the future. Now, this is our last Sunday of November, where we've been collecting for the community cupboard on Nestor Street all month long. We're still going to keep doing it on the second Sunday of the month, so don't think it's over. It's just not every Sunday. And who knows what we'll decide in the future. So does anyone have any food with them that they brought that they didn't put up yet? Oh, I see some hands. Would you help go and grab the food from people who brought it and bring it up here? Could you help out, Adrian? Could you guys help out too, Sage and Nori? And Octavia, do you want to help too? If someone's raising their hand, go and get the food that they brought and bring it up here to the front. Also collect funds every time we collect for the food cupboard, because food cupboards can leverage that money to get more of what people need and are asking for that we can't donate, like cheese and eggs and meat that aren't shelf stable. So things that people need besides canned goods. Awesome. Wonderful. Oh, thank you all so much for your generosity this Sunday and every Sunday. I invite the kiddos to come upstairs for children's worship while we all sing together our doxology. The words are in your order of service or on the screen.
I invite you now into this reverent time of sharing joys and sorrows from our gathered community. If you would like to, you can place a hand over your heart to be able to listen from this heart-centered place. As a refresher, this community ritual helps remind us that we are never alone in our sorrow, carried in shared support, and your joys are gifts to uplift us all. So as we know, so much is going on in our world today. So if you have joys or sorrows to share on behalf of our national and global community, you're truly encouraged to do so today and into the future. As Dolores DeLumba places stones into a bowl, I will read aloud the joys and sorrows of our gathered community. Hal Bauer shares a lengthy sorrow that our former minister, Reverend and Captain of the U.S. Army, George Tiger, explained in church as he was leaving to military chaplain service during the invasion or occupation of Iraq, that he would swear loyalty to the U.S. Constitution rather than the president. And this week, leading U.S. military veterans were labeled traitors by the current president and Department of Justice for together publicly repeating this well-known fact as our Reverend George Tiger. I hope we'll continue to resist authoritarian pressures as some did this week. A Joy from Catherine Coates. They will be at the Writers and Books on Saturday, 12/6 at 3:30, doing a reading of poems from their book, Longing for Intimacy, Glimmers of Hope. A Joy from Susan Reedy, that every day takes us closer to the end of this administration. I'm noticing a theme. A Sorrow from Jasmine. They lost their good friend Marlon on Thanksgiving. May he rest in peace. A Sorrow from John Lukes. A dear friend and former coworker is in the last stages of ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease. Richard Reed shares a joy that it was a joy on Friday night to see John Akers and his band play at Love and Cup near RIT. Bill Shubmel shares a mixed joy and sorrow of a beautiful memorial service yesterday for Sister Grace Miller. Patty Goodwin shares big joys that her great niece came for Thanksgiving with her husband and 2 adorable children. Marty Eggers shares a sorrow that their former husband and father of their children died suddenly this past week. We're all in a state of shock. Daniel Fernandez shares that he is so glad his wife and he can be here to support Arlene and Jose, their mom and dad, as dad's health continues to decline. Short visits may be possible, but call ahead first. And Eileen also shares a joy of thanks to the members of the congregation for their support during this challenging time. As I noted today, we share in this community ritual to honor the many joys and sorrows we bring into this space, whether read aloud or kept in the silent sanctuaries of our heart. In a moment, those here in person are invited to come forward to drop stones into the bowls. If you need to remain seated, please raise your hand or have a neighbor signal to us, and someone can come to you with a bowl to drop stones in. If you're joining us online, please send a heart emoji in the meeting chat. Let us join now in this collective ritual of honoring the joys and sorrows of us all. Now the circle of our care is drawn larger, and may it increase forevermore. Amen.
How many of you ever feel small? Me too. And how many of you ever feel like you have a coat of armor around you? Yes. Do seeds seem small also? And sometimes have these hard coats around them. And do they know when it's time to open? I would love to share a little song with you. And by share a song, I mean sing a song. And yes, it's true, we'll sing this song a few other times today, but don't let me get ahead of myself. I'll sing a line, and thanks for singing it back to me. And first, can you feel how small your seed is right now? Can you feel how cold in winter and at peace, perhaps even, your seed is? And now imagine in spring, can you wiggle your shoulders? Imagine your seed coat beginning to open, ready to grow. I'll sing a line, and thanks for singing it back to me. Be open for something wonderful to happen. Be open for something wonderful to happen. Be open to the possibility. Be open to the possibility. Be open for something wonderful to happen. Be open for something wonderful to happen. Be open to the possibility. Be open to the possibility. Aye, 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 aye. For opening and growing, friends. And now let's sing together. In my father's garden, we had friends coming over for supper. And so we went out to the garden with baskets, my father and I. And I was harvesting peas, 2 peas for me, 1 for the basket. And I watched my father walk up to the biggest, most beautiful head of lettuce. And as he knelt down to harvest that head of lettuce, I said, "But wait, Dad, that's the best one." And he said, "Exactly." And I'll always be curious who I was hoarding that lettuce for. And I'll always be so grateful that my father was there to remind me that we share the best of what we have with everyone we can. And what a risk to give away the biggest, finest head of lettuce in your garden. And what a risk to not. So yes, today and all days, let us be people of faith who risk sharing the best of what we have the depth of who we are, the expanse of what we dare to dream with each other. And maybe supper will be that much sweeter. And certainly more fascinating. I'm Petra, by the way, and I grew up in my father's garden in Naples. How many of you have been down to Naples? Yes, amazing. And the backside of Cumming Nature Center, how many have been to Cumming Nature Center? Incredible. Our gardens were on the far side of Cumming Nature Center, and I would often wander through the forest and find myself there in the trails of Cumming Nature Center, and I'm so grateful that you can imagine that land with me now that holds us all. And I grew up gifting seeds from my father's garden, though I didn't think much of it. Of course we save tomato seeds because we're going to plant tomato seeds in the spring next year. And of course I also brush my teeth and can ride a bicycle. And I'll always be so grateful that saving seeds was so foundational to my childhood. And I'll always be so thankful that there are so many seeds in a tomato. Have you noticed how many seeds there are in a tomato? How many of you have saved tomato seeds? Yes. And perhaps then you've noticed that there are so many more seeds generally in a single tomato than any one of us who are going to plant next year. And so then what do we do with our abundance? When we are people who take the risk of sharing rather than hoarding. And so we gift them to people. And so when I was young, I would make lots of envelopes for these seeds out of the glossy pages of National Geographic magazines. And I loved having them in my pockets because you never know who you're going to stumble into. If it's their birthday, would you like a packet of marigold seeds? And you never know who you're going to stumble into. I didn't love, but I did love when I saw a cashier at the end of a long day with a long face, if I could lift up a packet of marigold seeds and say, would you like some marigold seeds? And suddenly we all were smiling and thinking of more fruitful futures. And so I will forever be thankful that I grew up taking for granted that we grow seeds, yes, and we save seeds, of course, and then we save more than we need because that's the only way to save seeds. And we share them. And fast forward, I enjoyed a decade of working on other people's farms, learning how to grow seeds in much larger scales. And I dreamed for 7 years about starting a seed company where we would grow regionally adapted seeds for people in that region. And that was 14 years ago, and my beloved partner Matthew and I founded Fruition Seeds. And initially there was a bit of a crisis because as a company, you sell seeds. Perhaps you've heard of this thing, selling things, including seeds, including life. Can you believe we sell water? Can you believe we're not yet charged for every breath? Can you imagine if the sun was charging us for the warmth on our faces in winter? It seemed so wrong to sell seeds, but I didn't want to get another job. So I'm a lifelong UU, so I have a lot of faith in a good paradox and in complexity and holding faith in the questions. And so we sold seeds for a good number of years, and it was a great gift to hold that crisis. Perhaps, and it became an energizing opportunity. Perhaps you've planted a seed, yes? Raise a hand. Oh my goodness. So yes, you know the magic. You know that you've planted that seed. Perhaps imagine with me that it's a tiny sunflower seed. And you walk away, you planted it, you know you did, but it looks like nothing happened. And it's with time that seed grows. And what a risk to do something so tiny that no one would ever notice and might even try to tell you that it wasn't, that you didn't do anything. There's nothing happened yet. And yet we know that give it a few months, that sunflower towering 12 feet tall above us all will be something that no one can help but stop and be in awe for 1,000 feet away for the rest of the summer. And so thank you for being the people who know And so even as I was selling these seeds, all those years, I knew I was planting the seeds of something that I might not see in my lifetime. Our mentor and beloved human on this earth, Robin White, once mentioned in the middle of the night that 150 years ago, seed companies didn't exist, and if we do our work well, they won't need to exist in 150 years. And fast forward, we realized at a certain point, Matthew and I, that we were burned out. Perhaps you can relate to being burned out. And we went on sabbatical and tried to relax and take care of our nervous systems. Perhaps you can also relate. And when we stepped back in, we realized that we weren't burned out, that we were heartbroken. Can you imagine the wind on a summer day, cooling you down and then leaping into a lake in the summer heat? Can you imagine plucking a tomato, fresh, warm, ripe off the vine, and that sweetness? Can you imagine a mother breastfeeding her child, the miracle? Can you imagine the way the sun continues to shine on us all? The best things in life aren't things, and they certainly can't be bought or sold. And so I would love for you to take a peek at some seeds. Perhaps you'll find a packet close to you by your seat. Can you look around and see a seed packet lying there? Thank you for picking it up. Yes. So yes, after a dozen years of selling seeds in 2024, my partner and Matthew and I realized we could no longer sell seeds, and we committed to giving them, to gifting them, committing perhaps to the magic that is the seed, being so small that it might seem impossible, that an acorn could turn into an oak. And who knows, they might also turn into chipmunks. I'm honored either way, however we continue to transform. And in the meantime, I would love for you to feel the weight of this seed packet in your hand. For as light as they are, can you imagine all of the ancestors, the millions of years, 400 million to be precise, 400 million years of evolution, bringing these seeds into your hands. Imagine all the vegetables and flowers, all the insects and rain, all of the sunshine, all of the storms that have gone into the making of this packet. They are light only deceptively. Feel the weight of all of that potential, all of that love. How many of you love little people in your life? Maybe they're children or grandchildren. Imagine that love amplified across the last 2 generations, and now 20 generations, and 200, and now even 2,000 generations of human life and love here in your hands. And certainly the life and love, the ancestors, the lineage of these seeds as well. And thank you for carefully opening up that seed packet and gently pouring those seeds into your hand. And don't worry, these self-adhering seed packets will close back up again. So let's open them, pour them into your hands, and imagine the last time you met a tiny little child in the world, a baby, and you were drinking in the whispers of eyebrows and the immaculate tiny toes and fingers, drinking in every detail. And as you look at these seeds in your hands, I would love to invite you to to look as you would the new life of a child, at the awe and wonder, the miracle that is the individuality of each of these seeds and the immense ocean of lineage that they emerge from. And see what you can notice. Just like each of us are unique, how can you notice what makes each of these seeds utterly unique? And I look different on one side than the other side, so I invite you to turn them over in your hands as well. How many colors can you notice? How many contours? And I invite you, if you feel so moved, to close your eyes and feel these seeds, because feeling without seeing is a different way of feeling all together. And feel their firmness and their softness and their lightness and the weight. The density of all of that care, all of that wisdom, all of that potential. And can you imagine with me the quiet life of these seeds this winter? And can you imagine with me their joy in spring? As they loosen their seed coats and start to grow, can you imagine their roots growing down into the earth? And their sprouts emerging in the sun. The ways they'll grow strong, both in calm days and stormy weather. Can you imagine them trusting that they have what they need, whether they're in a raised bed in your garden or a crack in the sidewalk, or somewhere that we don't even yet know? And imagine that seed finding its home among so many other plants in your gardens, in our wide communities. How many human eyes and owl eyes, crow eyes, how many worms will abide by these roots as well? How many beings will interbe with these seeds in your hands? And imagine the way that they'll flower when the time is right. The risk that it takes to ask for what we need, trusting that we will bloom one day too. And imagine all the seeds that will come from these single seeds in your hand. Each one of these seeds may become hundreds and perhaps even thousands of seeds. Each of those seeds can become thousands more. And what is the risk when we too feel small? Thank you for trusting these seeds. And I dare you to trust yourself with the same rigor and vitality and courage and encouragement. Thank you for trusting that these seeds have survived the first 5 mass extinctions on planet Earth. And I think if we are to survive too, we would do well to listen, to hold them quietly in our hands, to feel our breath leaving our lungs, to take this risk of the next breath together, and breathing out, feeling so held. And were these seeds mine to give you? Are they seeds yours now that they're in your hands? I'd love, perhaps, to encourage us, as Robin Wall Kimmerer and so many Indigenous grandmothers remind us, that the gift comes not as an ownership, possessive proposition, but as an opportunity to step into a circle of receiving, where we are saying thank you. Can we all say thank you, seeds? Thank you. And also the opportunity, the obligation, the joyful obligation to keep the gift moving. To not hold on to that biggest, most beautiful lettuce head in the garden just for ourselves, but to share the best of what we have with everyone we can. And so in this spirit, would you put these seeds back into your envelope so carefully, so gently, and as you close up that seed envelope, would you find someone close to you and gift your seed packet to them? And here I would love to sing our song. And here I would love to sing our song once again, our Be Open song. And as we sing, I would love to encourage you to keep moving those seed packets across the pews. And let's hold on just a moment, because, spoiler alert, some of us at the end of the song will have no seed packets in our hands, and some of us will have many seed packets in our hands. And perhaps you've heard of unequal wealth distribution. And we're here today practicing many things. So yes, if at the end of our song you find yourself with no seed packets in your hands, thank you for having the courage to take the risk to raise your hand and to trust that your community who loves you and knows that we share the best of what we have with everyone we can, that if you raise your hand with no seed packets at the end of our song, if you have multiple seed packets, thank you for finding a friend with a hand raised and for sharing your seed packets with them. So yes, thank you for passing your seed packets among each other as we sing this song, and I'll sing a line, and thanks for singing it back. Be open for something wonderful to happen. Be open to the possibility. Be open to the possibility. Be open for something wonderful to happen. Be open for something wonderful to happen. Be open to the possibility. Be open to the possibility. Aye, 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 aye. If you have no seed packets in your hand, raise your hand. If you have multiple seed packets, go find your friends. Because there is no shame in some of us having more, and there is no shame in some of us having less, and there is no shame. Perhaps there is just the invitation to notice and be the people who take the risk and share because we care. How many of you feel some disappointment that you no longer had that original seed packet in your hand? Thank you for risking that honesty. How many of you feel the magic of having a seed packet in your hand that has been so touched and loved and sung to by so many people? We can hold the paradox. Thank you for being people willing to feel and taking the risk of giving away what perhaps isn't ours, but perhaps we love, and to trust that in sending them into the arms of people we care about, whoever they are, wherever they are, that we all are planting the seeds of the culture that we so deeply crave. And how many of you think that gift culture doesn't really exist? Do you have to walk into Wegmans and buy your food still? And yet how many of you invite people to dinner? And do you ever expect them to pay? Would it be so awkward if they did? And so you all already engage in gift culture already. And so thank you. Gift economies don't exist, and they are everywhere all at once. And so as we practice bringing into our personal and our collective lives the opportunity to see the gifts, to receive the gifts, to give the gifts, to lose track of ledgers and lifetimes together. Thank you for trusting these seeds. They don't judge us, whoever we are, wherever we are. They don't judge us for buying and selling them. They haven't forgotten how to grow, even in such perilous times. They haven't given up on us, and friends, I endeavor to not give up on us either. Thank you for welcoming me here today. And I'd love to continue the conversation. You'll find so many seeds that I would love to send you home with as gifts in the back at noon. We brought so many seeds. We have over 300 varieties of vegetables, flowers, and herbs that we've been regionally adapting on our farm in Naples these last 13 years. And as you receive them as gifts today, I would love to invite you to receive, for every one packet that you receive for you, as a gift for you, that you receive 3 additional packets. One that you'll gift to a friend, another that you'll gift to a neighbor, and a third that you'll gift to a person in our shared wide community who, maybe like you and me, is hungry every day and would love more joy and connection in their lives. And we could call this person a stranger, but let's find them and share these seeds and see what risks feel like risks and what risks feel like growth as we fumble and become good soil together. So yes, I would love to see you at the back, and I would love to send you with as many seeds as you would love to receive, but in that proportion, 1 for you and 3 for your community. And thank you again for trusting these seeds and for trusting me to take a risk in singing together.
Let us sing one more time in closing hymn, number 121, We'll Build a Land.
These words inspired by our dear friend Adam Wilson, and I would love to speak a line and thank you for speaking it back. For the dark soil that cradles the seed, for the sun that brings forth the green leaves, for the stars that give form to the flowers, for the hands and hearts, all seasons together, for the birds nesting in the branches, for the turtles quiet in the stream, for the winds who remember us always, for the microbes whose lives allow ours, for the rains soaking the world with possibility, for the fruit growing sweet under the stars, for their sugars alive in the rivers of our bodies, for the kind folks gathered here together, for all our ancestors believing today would come, and for all those yet to come, for all this goodness and mercy, for all the gardens we've yet to plant, for all the forgiveness yet to grace our hearts, for all the hard seed coats we've yet to soften, for all the ways we've yet to grow, with courage and thanks, we are here. With gratitude for all beings and always. With the sweetness of abundance shared. We raise our hands and we remember. Thank you, friends. Don't be shy. We have so many gatherings on the farm. You are always welcome. I look so forward to celebrating the abundance of our lives yet to come.